Hello, everybody. I hope you're all well. So today our topic is on the relationship. Okay, so we have relationship counselor, sex therapist, and sexologist coming today. Okay, so let me introduce myself first. So my name is Ange or Anjali. So I'm just going to Okay, how exciting. So, okay, maybe where is her request gone? Okay, so I'm women's health fitness coach. Okay. Oh, she's here. Welcome, Isiah. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having
Woohoo,
me.
now the volume is working.
Good.
Awesome. Thank you. Well done. Thank you, everyone, for being here today. So I'm just introducing myself, and then we will read your bio as well. And yes, thank you, everyone, for being here. So yes, so I'm women's health fitness coach, and I've just added the nutrition counseling as well. And of course, I'm the founder of this platform. And yes, and today's we have amazing guest Isiah, and I'm going to read your beautiful bio. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for coming here. So you are a relationship counselor, sex therapist, and sexologist, and you are one of the most qualified and experienced sex and relationship expert in Australia, right? And you have helped thousands of clients have more connection, intimacy, and loving sex. Over the past decade, you have built a reputation on giving balanced advice and getting your clients results. So you are helping people have a harmonious relationship and enjoy sex is your passion. So now you train and work with other therapists handpicked by yourself to provide high quality care to your clients. And yes, that is amazing. And you've been featured in news.com.au, Insider, Men's Health. How do you say bazaar or
Harper's Bazaar, yeah.
Harper's
Yep.
Bazaar? Yes. And then today, is that the Sunrise Today or just the Today?
So the Today Show and the Morning Show. So I have done a lot of media. I have been
Yes.
learning about sex and relationships. I have been talking about sex and relationships for such a long time now. It is such a privilege to have been able to have such a big voice around this,
Yes.
and not only to get to help my clients with this, but to help other therapists better deal with sex and relationships
Yes.
for their clients as well.
Yes. And then you were featured in Mamma Mia,
Women,
wim.com.au.
yeah, yep,
Yeah,
yep,
Bustle, Cosmopolitan, Sydney Morning Herald, My
yep,
Body and Soul, the Huffington Post.
yep.
Amazing. Oh my goodness. Some of these, like all these, like it's like, what you call all the celebrities you see. And no, I have celebrities today. Celebrity. Oh my goodness. All right. So thank you so much for being here again. And I just wanted to, before we start, I just wanted to let everybody, our guests know that, or the people who are watching the recorded version, that this is for the, awareness purposes and, not like particular advice for you, right? So it just the providing information to empower you with the information to give you a general idea. So yes, before we start, so I just wanted to clarify that. And if you'd like to add anything, please go ahead.
No, just thank you for having me on. You've built such an amazing network, Ange, and it's always such a privilege for me to be talking about sex and relationships, because I don't think we get to have these conversations enough. So thank you for having me on your platform, and thank you to everyone who's showing up live and watching the recording. I'm really looking forward to diving in and answering. I know you've got some really good questions that you want to go through with me, Ange. So I'm ready. Bring it on.
Yes.
I'm keen.
Yeah, no, because like it's so easy to put it in AI and then look for the questions. But then I'm like, what do I feel like as a general public? What do I want to know?
Mm,
How my curiosity, because we don't know all this, I don't know how AI generates the question as a general, but they're not as specific from the personal view, right?
yeah.
So that's why I brought that way. And anybody, if you like to ask questions, please comment down below. We will have Q&A session at the end. Okay. So the first one is, as you advocate for relationship and sex as a sex therapist, how important is sex in our partner relationship? Oh, and another thing I wanted to add is like, how does it impact in health and well-being in women?
Wow. Okay. Really big
I
questions.
know it's like
I love this. So, wow. So, firstly, let me speak to how does sex impact our overall relationships
Mhm.
and well-being? Um, and what I will say is so that we know that there are incredible health benefits to
Yes.
sex. But really importantly, there are also benefits from our relationships as well. So we know that stronger relationships are going to impact almost every measurable aspect of our well-being. Strong relationships help us have better mental health. They help us have better physical health. They help our immune system. They help us feel like when we've got really strong, healthy relationships around us, we're going to feel like we can really kind of take on life a little bit easier. The challenges aren't going to seem like as much. So our relationships are such an important part of all of our lives. Now, sex is an important part of that. For most of us, sex is going to be an important part of intimate relationships. The role that it plays, the frequency, the how it gets expressed is going to be up to every individual and couple to work that out together. But for most relationships out there, sex is going to play an important role. And so what we see is when there are challenges around sex, it ends up taking up a lot of space. It
Mm.
can place stress and strain on the relationship, and then that
Yeah.
places stress and strain on the individuals themselves. So it can impact mental health. It can lead to relationship breakdown if these things aren't resolved
Mhm.
well. So learning to have enjoyable sex lives where you communicate with a partner really well and you can really be an intimate team on that is really important. And then learning the skills to have a healthy and harmonious relationship is also going to benefit all of us as well.
Yes, so I just wanted to take a moment there. So last year, since I have started following you, I've been started to work on our relationship. But when we were having a hard time, so I was applying what you've been putting, out there, and it has just helped me in so many ways to work on myself and then being able to speak up,
Yeah.
because where we come from is women always, stay quiet and do what your husband say. But then even my husband had Karen, my husband, given me the voice, you know,
Mm,
yeah, given me the voice, or letting me have that freedom. But I was struggling to, take that freedom and enjoy it. But then once I start, reading your post and all those things, it gave me the idea of that I should start embracing it.
mm,
And then, yes, and that gave us such a solid foundation. Now we can express it as an adult than throwing tantrum like little kids in
yes.
relationship.
Hmm.
Yes. So, and it has helped us so many ways. So we don't feel like up and down, you know, the emotion wise, or, you know, once we start working on ourselves, and it has been such a huge calmness in our life. Thank you so much for that. So I really, you know, that was huge. So
It's such a pleasure. I'm so glad it's been useful.
yes.
Mm.
So you have a question here. Solistic place counseling. Any advice on intimacy postpartum, particularly around getting? So I'm not too sure.
Yeah.
Yes. So
I know, is there more of a
question coming.
question there? Yeah, look, let me start to speak to that, and if there is more of a question coming, please feel free to share it. I think there are going to be certain transition points in our lives that are going to have a big impact on both our relationship and intimacy. And bringing a child or bringing children into the world is one of those events that will significantly impact a relationship and intimacy, no matter how strong you are and how much you care about each other. So there are certain changes that happen postpartum, obviously, in our body, and particularly if women are breastfeeding, there are
Yeah.
huge changes that are going to happen in our mindset, in our identity, in the ways that we feel about ourselves, and also just the amount of time that we have to give to a relationship as well. Oh, this is perfect. This, I see the rest of the question.
Yes.
So the mindset, this identity. So there's so much when we talk about sexual desire. We often talk about the dual control model of sexual response, and a really simple way to put that is that we have like sexual brakes and sexual accelerators. There are going to be a lot of extra brakes that come in postpartum. And so that can be, you know, for women, this is something I'm really passionate about talking about. We have been conditioned for thousands of years, you know, to kind of believe that once we become moms, things should change for us. And the fact that women are not encouraged to be sexual, they're actively discouraged to be sexual. You know, there's been a lot of research that shows that the more sexual a woman is perceived to be, the less she is perceived to be a good mother. Now, we can all know logically that that isn't necessarily true, that women can be sexual and sensual beings and still enjoy themselves sexually, but that is going to impact the way that they see themselves and often the way that they approach intimacy and their relationships. And not to mention, if you have children all day, you're not necessarily feeling like your sexy self at the end of the day. You're going to be tired, you're going to be exhausted, you're going to have all of those breaks going on, and it's going to be really difficult for your sexual accelerators to work. Now, there's going to be kind of an immediate time postpartum where it's going to be really difficult to have intimacy perhaps the way that you're used to, especially if there's pain, depending on the form of delivery that you had. Every form of delivery can impact women. So it's a really, really big question. I think my overall advice is that couples work together on this as best they can, and understand that the relationship is still going to be an important foundation on which you support your family. And you having a strong and intimate relationship is also a need of your children, and it's an incredible gift that you can give your children because it strengthens the family. So to know that you have to work together on this, but things might change. There are going to be certain breaks that you might need to try to get out of the way. It's going to be harder to find time, and you'll have to find ways to work around that together. But that's a big issue that I work with a lot of couples around.
Yeah. So it's yeah, I think, would there be any, you know, little ideas that what would you advise to, you know, bring up that, you know, what we used to have after having a baby, like for example going on a date, making like a specific day, or or that kind of thing. Few questions.
I
Yeah,
think
few.
a lot of things like that can be really helpful, and we may need to change the way we're doing that. So,
Mm,
depending on the age of children, dates the way you used to have them might not be possible,
mm,
but still finding ways to carve out time
mm,
to spend together can be really useful. So, if it's an at-home date, a special time, I also recommend that couples have. There's actually three kinds of dates that I recommend couples have in their relationship. The first one is what we kind of think typically as of a date. It's going out for dinner or
mm,
doing something at home, watching a movie, spending time together that's really about building connection.
yeah.
The second kind of date is maybe a little more surprising. It's actually self dates. I think it's really
Mm,
important that we still have time to ourselves to
for
nurture
ourselves.
ourselves and take care of
Mm,
ourselves in a relationship. So having that time, not where you're going out and doing errands or doing the shopping, but actually still getting to do the things that fill you up
mm,
as an individual is important. And the third kind of date that I think we should have in our relationships is what I call bedroom dates or intimacy dates. And that's
mm,
setting aside time to be physically and sexually intimate with each other without putting pressure on it. So it's not scheduling sex necessarily, but it is seeing your sexual relationship as an important part and making time for that kind of intimacy, which might be getting into bed at first and holding hands and having a conversation
yeah.
about your sex life together. It might be reading erotica to each other. There's so many different things that you can do in that time. So yeah, the three kind of dates that I think we should
Yeah.
have in a relationship.
Awesome. Thank you. Now we know three kinds of dates that we can do for ourselves and for our relationship. So, yeah, so what are some common mistakes we make in coming to our relationships?
Good question. I think one of the biggest mistakes we make in our relationships is, and I kind of blame Hollywood movies and fairy tales for this one, is that
Yes.
we think once we find the right person, the
Mm.
relationship will just take care of itself. And
Yeah.
I
Happily
think we
ever
really,
after. Yes.
exactly, exactly. And if you've got the right person, if you've got the relationship, it'll just work out. And that love should be enough to sustain you.
Mm.
But that isn't how our relationships work. And I think it's really important that we normalize having to put effort
Mm.
into our relationships. And
Yes.
when I'm talking to women about this, I compare it to a garden. And when I'm talking to men, I kind of compare it to a car. You know, if we want our gardens to thrive, we can't just say like, oh, I love my garden and it's really
Yes.
beautiful and expect it to take care of itself. We have to work on it. We have to water it. We have to pull out the weeds. Sometimes we might even have to get a gardener to come
Yes.
in and help us sort things out. But we take continual action around it because that's what we do for the things we love. We nurture them and take care of them.
Yeah. So we have another question here. Bob's 351. How old is too old to have children?
I don't think that's a question that I am. Uh, I think that that's something that every individual and couple really needs to work out for themselves. That question.
Yeah. Cool. Thank you. So, what is the best steps towards a great relationship with your partner to keep your intimacy side exciting?
So I wish that I had some really like more simple tools around this, but
Yeah.
actually, what I think is more important is to have an overall strategy around this.
Yeah.
And so what I mean by that is when I'm supporting couples with their relationships and intimacy, there's always five steps and five stages that we go through because these are what help keep a relationship strong. Firstly, we have to have a positive vision
Yeah.
together. We have to we have to be able to set goals as a couple, know what we want our relationship to
Yeah.
look and feel like. We then need to build our connection,
Yeah.
friendship, love, connection is the
I'm
foundation
writing.
of a
Yes.
relationship. Okay. The next thing is, and we know that when couples have a stronger connection, their communication is also going to be improved. So
Yeah.
then we have to work on improving communication and getting better skills for conflict resolution. So we set positive goals together, we work on building the connection, we
Connection.
improve communication, and that's a foundation that then we can build intimacy on. So
Mm,
physical and sexual intimacy. And
yeah.
that's going to be so much easier to work on if you've already got a good
Yeah.
connection and you've already
Yeah.
got good communication. So then we build sexual intimacy, and we
Mm,
want that sexual intimacy to be something that we look forward to and something that we both enjoy. And then following that, the final step is really to keep that momentum going.
yeah.
So to continue doing check-ins, to have perhaps it's time away every year or time away every month, or just a set of questions that you ask each other regularly to check in on the relationship and keep all of those areas moving forward so you don't get stuck or kind of end up in a place you don't want to be.
Yeah, awesome. So thank you everyone for being here. So if you have just joined in today, we have Isiah, who is relationship counselor, sex therapist, and sexologist. Thank you so much for being here. So let's jump into another question. So just curious, did you ever had to go through the relationship turmoil, ups and downs?
Mm,
Because we know you as expert, so it's just curious, the out of curiosity. But
mm.
yeah.
I think it's a really good question, because I think often when we're struggling with sex and relationships, we can think that we're the only ones. Often from the
Yes.
outside, it looks like everyone else has the perfect relationship and sex life, and that we can think, what is wrong with me, or what is
Yes.
wrong with us, because we're the ones struggling with this. But the truth is, this is an area that we all struggle in
Yeah.
at times. It's an area that we all have questions around and that we're all continually learning more in. So this is an area that I never expected myself to be teaching in. It wasn't necessarily my interest growing up. It was never it was just never something that I imagined myself doing. I wasn't overly comfortable with sex. I wasn't overly comfortable with my body. I
Mm.
felt for a long time like I was missing out on whatever I thought everyone else knew that made sex and intimacy really amazing. I was like, I'm not getting it. I'm missing out
Yeah.
on something. For me, all of that changed when I discovered Tantra, which is, we tend to know it in the West as a kind of yoga that has benefits for our sex lives and
Mm.
relationships. That really helped me get more in touch with my body and my sensuality, and really gave me tools for having amazing sex. And that's really what started this journey for me. And it was on that journey that I realized that one of the best things that we can do to have a great sex life is also to improve our relationship. And so I wanted to learn the best possible tools and skills
Mm.
to help people have a great relationship so that they could also have a great sex life and create a really positive, connected, and harmonious cycle between them.
Yeah, and the whole family, right? So
Exactly.
once the partner is there, we are centered. I feel like the whole we are happy and kids are happy, and we're dealing even difficult situation better way, not as stressed, and but it feels like it will solve we can solve this. We are as a team, we start working as a team, right? So it feels like, yeah, we can achieve anything. So yeah.
Absolutely. Great point.
Mm.
Really great point.
Mm. So I think that is our questions, but if anyone would like to send some questions, yeah, solicit. Yes, I know a lot of women who have not been able to achieve an orgasm through penetration is something that is this is something that is achievable.
Achievable.
So,
Um,
mm,
So this is a really great question. Not all women will reach orgasm through penetration sex alone. A lot of women will also need clitoral stimulation in order to reach orgasm. And depending on your body, the way you fit with your partner, what exactly you're doing at the time, that doesn't always happen the way that it needs to through just penetration intercourse. So there's a lot that we can do. I feel like I'm probably going into so much detail. Instagram's like going to take this live down any moment. I'm always getting censored on social media,
Yes.
but I'll answer the question as clearly as I can. So essentially, if anyone is struggling to reach orgasm through penetration sex, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. And what you might firstly, that's totally okay, and you might be able to find other ways to climax. If you would like to have an orgasm through penetration sex, you can do things like include more direct clitoral stimulation during penetration sex as well.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. And there is another question. What are your top 3 books for sex education?
That is a really good question. So much of my learning has been experiential, but I do really highly recommend Emily Nagoski's Come As You Are. I think it's a brilliant book. She talks about that dual control model of sexual desire, talking about sexual breaks and sexual accelerators. I really love a book called The Erotic Mind by Jack Moran. I think that is so, so useful for us understanding our own sexuality and the way that our mind works in terms of sex. Gosh, to choose another one, a third, I'm going to maybe be a bit controversial, but I think I actually would choose a relationship book. I know that it's not sex education, but John Gottman's 7 Principles of Making Marriage Work. I think we just can't overlook needing to have that strong relationship in order to have a better intimate life. So if I was going to choose only 3 that everyone reads, I would choose those 3.
Awesome. Thank you. So while we are, so while we wait for other questions, please let us know where people can find you.
Thank you. So obviously I'm on Instagram, Isiah McKimmie, .sexologist. This is probably the best platform to find me on at the moment. You can also find me on my website, www.isiah-mckimmie.com. There is a link in my bio, I think. And on that website, you'll find I have a lot of online courses for women to take by themselves and also for couples to take together. Obviously, myself and I have a team of therapists who offer therapy. And for any practitioners out there who encounter sex in their therapy room, in their healthcare room in some way, I also am running soon an online course for practitioners to be able to better work with sex and sexuality, because this is going to be an issue for so many of our clients, and we're often not educated on how to work with it. Even couples therapists don't get a lot of education on dealing with sex and sexuality. So if that's you and you're interested, the details are on my website, but also feel free to just direct message me if you're interested in any of those offerings.
Awesome. Thank you. So the last question, we are taking last question. I like aftercare, but I'm curious, what do you personally, or what do you think women would appreciate in aftercare?
So I think it's a really good question. So aftercare, for anyone who doesn't know what this is what happens after sex. So it doesn't necessarily just ends there. For some people, there's wanting to feel supported, be cuddled, kiss, talk about things, talk about what worked and what didn't sexually, but what everyone likes and wants in aftercare is going to be different, and it might differ day to day. So always, I think some of my best advice around sex is learn to talk about it with your partner. So with your current sexual partner or with someone you're about to have sex with, talk about that. Hey, what do you enjoy as aftercare? What's important for you? What would help you feel loved and cared for and supported around this? And share anything that you might need as well, so that there's that reciprocal care and support.
Yes, it's all like all I can hear is communication, right?
It's such a
Communication
big
and
point.
openness and love and respect towards each other. That is
Yes.
amazing. So, yeah, so thanks. This was
Thank you.
enlightening. So awesome. Thank you so much, everyone, for being here. Thank you, Isaiah, for being here. We truly appreciate your time and your expertise, your knowledge. It's incredible that what you do. Thank you so much for, you know, talking about this uncomfortable. Well, we don't talk about this every day, right? So, yeah, that is what we're trying to do, to bring up this kind of conversation, to bring the awareness in a community so we can build the relationship with the people around us and bring joy in life, right? So
Yes. Thank you
awesome.
so
Thank
much,
you so
Ange,
much.
and thank you so much for the work you do
Thank you.
supporting women and this incredible network that you
Yeah,
have. Thank you for
amazing.
having me.
Yes, it's my pleasure. And thank you so much, everyone, for being here. And we'll see you next in next live. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye,
Bye.
Isaiah. Bye.
Bye.